Hi everybody, it's me, Reidy. Welcome to the Easter special of the Beat the First Man podcast. I do use the words Easter and special in the loosest term of the words, I will admit. So anyway, this week we head to Brazil for How Old? We go to Trinidad and Tobago for Your Name Shit or Is It Great? And we go to Scotland for Zooming In. What on earth are we waiting for? Set fire to the footballs. So here we are again then, just a short of a third of a way to a century of episodes. Yeah, episode 33. Thank you so much to all of you who continue to watch. To you, any new guys on board, please click the subscribe below. At the end of the video, give me a like. Feel free to comment on absolutely anything that goes on in the show. I respond to every single comment, so I love you to get involved. Bit of interaction. It's what makes it all so much good fun, to be honest with you. So anyway, we're all aboard the BTFM bus. Let's get going, let's hit the road. And we've got a little bit of Stoke Gabriel news, unexpected. So, the season, as we know, was null and voided. They called it a day, the shirt came off, I was allowed to wear my own clothes. But they've arranged a couple of friendlies. Guess what? They drew. 1-1. They drew, they didn't lose, they drew 1-1. So it's a start, they've stopped the rot. So, as I say, it was only friendlies, so we're not counting them, so the shirt thing, that carries on into next season. But they did draw, so credit to the Stoke Gabriel lads for getting a result of some sorts, whether it be a friendly or not. So they're off and running, and the mid-table dreams for next season is well alive. So, let's kick off with the game that everyone's talking about up and down the country, as we know. How old? I'll put a picture of a footballer up. All you have to do is guess how old when he was taken. Simple as that. So this week we take a trip to South America and we go to the footballing land of the gods, which is Brazil, who've given us such amazing names over the years. Pelé, Rivellino, Zico, loads of them. But one of the lesser known names they gave us was a man called Nivaldo Gomes da Silva. Or in the true style of Brazilian footballers, obviously he only had one name, Nivaldo. So he was a man who played the CDM role in his homeland for Cruzeiro. He then moved to Portugal, played for a number of clubs in Portugal, including Vitória Guimarães, Benfica. So quite a distinguished career, did well for himself. I think he went back to Brazil to finish his career. All very nice, I hear you say, but cut to the chase really. Show us the picture of the man. Okay, so quite simply, when this photo was taken, how old was Nivaldo? Answer coming up at the end of the show, so make sure you stick around. Now, last week we did promise you an Easter spectacular, and true to my words, I am going to give you an Easter spectacular. I did say spectacular was probably stretching it, but we are going Easter. So this is a cream egg. Easter, egg. You know, this is good stuff, this. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to lay down the gauntlet. I have a stopwatch. I have a cream egg. We're going to time how quickly I can eat the cream egg completely, so there's nothing left. What I want you guys to do is get over to the Facebook page. So it's a new Facebook page, BTFM Podcast. And I want your times, video clips of you eating the eggs, stick them on Facebook, pile them on. I want to see as many people as possible get involved with this challenge. Put your times in the comments below. I'm not saying I'm going to be any great world record holder, by the way. This has been in the fridge overnight. That's the tactic I've gone for, the fridge rather than the melty version. So put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram, put it wherever you want to put it, okay? But just get involved. So the gauntlet is, how quickly can you eat a cream egg? So there's the stopwatch. I will now get ready to see. I'm a little bit of a disadvantage because I'm going to lose a millisecond pressing start. So on 3 we'll go. 1, yeah, come on, you're supposed to do it. 1, 2, 3. So, 42.66 seconds. Honestly, you should smash that. I'm not going to lie. That was harder than I thought. I should have gone for the melted version. I think that might have been a better idea. But, you know, Easter spectacular. So, quite simply, film yourself eating a cream egg as quick as you can, time it, eat it and beat it. Simple as that. Easter spectacular. So, my little friend Ted is here. You alright, Ted? Alright, how's the arm, by the way? How's that after your COVID jab last week? I know you were complaining about pain in your arm. How is it this week? It's okay now, thanks for asking. Where are the other 4? What do you mean the other 4? What are you talking about? The other 4? It's just me and you. Come on, Reidy man. Rule of 6. You should know that. Get another 4 people in doing this in here. I'd have somebody less dull to talk to. Rude. But Ted, technically incorrect. We're indoors, so it can only be me and you. We can't have another 4 people in here. Do it outdoors then. Let's record them on the beaches, record them on the landing grounds, record them in the fields, the streets, the hills. Oh, Ted, that's very Churchill of you. Don't you dare compare me to that bastard nodding dog off the car adverts. I am nothing like him. Any more of this, you'll be getting yourself a new sidekick. Ted, it'll not be funny, he's a pretty popular dog. But anyway, so you're only here for one thing, the Little Knob of the Week award, which proudly goes out to somebody who does something extra special, shall we say, in football this week. So Ted, I'm still digesting cream egg. So Ted, who is your winner this week? Was it an easy one, difficult one? Easy this week. Oh, okay, who's got it this week? Aidy Boothroyd, the England under-21 manager. Oh, yeah, I see where you've gone with this. Yes, so, Mr. Boothroyd oversaw the England under-21 Euros campaign. Now, they lost their opening 2 matches, but after the opening 2 matches defeat, he openly declared, and I'm going to quote it because I don't want to get his words wrong, that the England under-21 job is the utterly impossible job. He pleaded his case, stating about how many players you lose to the senior squad, such as Mason Mount. So that's true, he has a point there. And it's about developing players to move on to the senior squad. Again, he has a point there in his defence. But, Mr. Boothroyd, I have an issue with your comments. Guess what? All the other nations have to do exactly the same. The 2 nations you lost to have to do exactly the same, and the same happens to them. It's not specific to you. So let's just, I mean, I would argue he has a pool of players which are actually bigger than a lot of countries to choose from. So in that group, England had Croatia and Switzerland, much smaller nations than England, much less of a talent pool to choose from. Is theirs not a slightly more utterly impossible job? When does it become the utterly impossible job? Surely if it's an impossible job, it doesn't need to be an utterly impossible job. I'm confused. Anyway, so it's also worth noting, in the game against Croatia, their last game, which they did win, to be fair, but obviously it was too late by then, they'd lost the first 2. He had 6 regular Premier League starters in his starting lineup. Whilst on the bench managing the team, Aidy Boothroyd, a man who had a highly successful managerial career at Watford, Colchester, Coventry, Northampton. Maybe we just have to look a little bit closer to home as to where the issue lies with this. So, Aidy Boothroyd, it's fair to say you are this week's Little Knob of the Week award for the utterly impossible job quote, which frankly was utterly ridiculous. So, Ted, are you going to be back for how old this week? I mean, you had a bit of a sulk last week, didn't you? But are you going to be back this week? I'll be back. I've got it this week. Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. I've got his age, no problem. Okay, thank you, Ted. Right, let's head over to sunnier climes, the beautiful country of Trinidad and Tobago, and a story that ends a little bit sadly, I won't lie. So, when Trinidad and Tobago failed to qualify for the World Cup in 1998, a gent called Austin Warner, better known as Jack Warner, he of the whole FIFA thing, he decided to create a league for the best homegrown players, so they would flourish and that Trinidad and Tobago would move forward as a nation and start qualifying for tournaments again. So, but from this, a new team were formed. And at the end, we're going to decide whether that team's name, was it shit or was it great? So this team, they had a momentously quick rise through the ranks, saw them qualify eventually for the CONCACAF Champions League, just 2 years after forming, and reaching the quarterfinals, so they did incredibly well. But sadly though, the dream didn't last forever, and in 2011 they had to withdraw from the Trinidad and Tobago Pro League, and in 2014 withdrew from the Super League entirely due to financial reasons, leaving the club pretty much back where they started, in all honesty. However, for the purposes of this feature, that doesn't really matter, because what we need to know was what their name was, and I give you Joe Public FC. Yes, Joe Public. You heard me right. So quite simply, Joe Public FC, your name's shit. Or is it great? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you a Joe Public name fan or not a Joe Public name fan? So, Lineal European Cups, the international break's now over. So, back to Lineal European Cup action this weekend. The Lineal European Cup last time out of Bayern Munich made no mistake. They crushed Stuttgart 4-0, despite losing a man to an early red card. Interesting for them this weekend though, when they travel to RB Leipzig, so not an easy one for them. In the Lineal UEFA Cup, we have new winners after Wolfsburg went to Werder Bremen and won 2-1 to return with a trophy. So they defended today against Cologne. You couldn't make this up. So after many complaints, I won't be making any cheap jokes about wolves or perfumes. All I'm saying is you might get a sheep's gag clothing next week or an Estee Lauder gag next week. We'll just have to see what happens. So zooming in, time to relax, sit back. Earlier this week I caught up with Michael and Joe, two members of the Scottish band Dictator, where we talked about their music, their love of Celtic Football Club, and of course put them on the spot with some either ors. There's a belting either or question in there as well, if I do say so myself. And we get their ultimate five-a-side team. At the end of the chat there's a clip of their current single Moonlight, which is simply a beautiful song, so see what you think of that. So yeah, zooming in with Dictator. So, welcome to another section of Zooming In. I'm delighted to say this week I'm joined by a band from north of the border, the lads from Dictator. We've got Michael, who is lead singer, rhythm guitar and keys, and Joe, bass, and the words that were sent to me were sometimes lead guitar.
One time, one song.
Welcome aboard,
that's the best song, but...
gents.
Thank you for
having us, man.
No problem at all. So Dictator then, there will be people out there who haven't heard of you and haven't listened to any of your music. I have to say you've got a new fan tonight because I got sent your video for your current single and played it as I was downloading it, and my missus went, "Oh my God, whose voice is that? That's beautiful." And so you've got yourself a new fan. You've got the wife's approval. What more can you ask for?
There we go. That's another 2 streams. That's at least another 0.006 pence in the bank.
So why should people be listening to Dictator? Tell us all about yourselves.
Very good question. To be fair, right, we're an alternative rock band, right, from Scotland, from West Lothian, which is like a cesspit for creativity now, with the sluice capaldi, everything like that. We've got Mark Sharp and the Bicycle Thieves. However, our sound is like Gorillaz meets Pink Floyd meets a lot of other things, meets Kasabian. And to be fair, if anything like that floats your boat, then it's worthwhile giving us a check out and see what you think. Don't know, Joe, how you would describe it on the spot.
It's quite hard because it seems to have changed 4 or 5 times since we started, but just, I mean, I would say all of them kind of rolled into one. And I was going to say uplifting music, but some of it's definitely not. But it's all good, man. It's all good.
It's wicked. And I went for the haunting Jerry Cinnamon. So it's got a little of Jerry Cinnamon in there, but it's a bit more of a haunting vibe to it. It's wicked. I love it. It's banging. The latest single is absolutely superb. And
nice one, man.
Honestly, if you don't get a stroke of luck and a breakthrough with that one, wow, it's an unfair world because it's genuinely top draw.
Appreciate that, man. That's nice. That genuinely is like we've had a lot of good like reviews and stuff like that for this one. So the latest single is called Moonlight. You can check it out on Spotify and other streaming platforms. But it's been amazing. Like anytime we do this sort of stuff, like we've played live like 3 times, right? We've been a band in lockdown longer than we have been out of it, which is mental. And we have released like 5 or 6 songs, and the response keeps getting better, and it's amazing. And so like hearing stuff like that, it's mental, because we've never played that song properly live. You know what I mean? It's just been cooked up, and like we've kind of polished it ourselves and recorded it in our studio. And when folks say, "Oh, that's class, man," you're like, that genuinely means a lot to us. So like it's good that people are enjoying the music, because that's right now the only way we can actually give something to people. Because I mean, everything else we can't gig, we can't do much else other than just release some songs. So yeah.
I think that's more kudos to you guys as well, because you're not being able to get together and do what you want to do, and you're still bringing out songs like that. It's, I think when we do get out of this shit situation that we're in, you're only going to fly, aren't you, from there, to be honest.
No, last year was chaos, right? Last year was chaos, and this year's fair game. Everybody knows we're in the middle of a lockdown, so what you do with the thing's up to you.
Yeah. So moving on to obviously potentially we're coming to the end of lockdown times, and we're going to be able to start going to concerts, etc. sometime soon. Have you guys got any gigs lined up in the future that you've got booked up that you're just waiting for the green light to go?
Nothing. I don't think we've booked anything yet. I think we had been asked to play a couple gigs, but I think this was a wee bit before, and I think these are gigs that have already been cancelled again. So I think we're just sort of, we'll just hold off. We'll hold off, and we'll do it when it's best for us. We'll do it when it's best for everybody else, and make sure that when we do get to do it, it's done right.
Plus, people don't have a lot of money now, right? Quite a lot of people are on furlough, and like it's a tough time for everybody. And so, see, financially, to ask people to pay for tickets for a gig that we can't 100% stand behind is going to happen, just doesn't sit right. So like we're not, because all we'd be doing then is trying to make try to make some cash, get some cash flow so we can go and do other things. And it's not, I don't know, for us, it's like, look, we'll get a gig organised as soon as we can 100% have it, and it will be the right time to have it. It won't be cancelled. It won't be shuffled around. We won't be reissuing tickets. It will be, this is the gig. Yeah. Your ticket's valid, and we're all going to be there. It's going to be worth it. So
kudos to you for that as well, because the easy option is to take the money and just keep rescheduling. But so fair play to you. I think that's an honourable and the right thing to do in reality.
Hopefully that, mate, but we've no money to do anything, so we're going to run out of songs soon.
Time will tell. So the new single Moonlight is out at present, as we just mentioned. It's on Beat the First Man Twitter. It's on Dictator's Twitter if you can't find it. If not, just go on Spotify and type Dictator. Are you working on an album at the moment, or are you just pulling things together when you're looking at releasing an album?
It's a good question. I think so. What we'll probably do, right? We're a little bit behind in our schedule of what we were hoping for. I think everybody in just general life is, but what we're hopefully going to do is release a few more singles. If we continue on the current trajectory that we're on, where people are enjoying the songs and we think that it's like people think it's worthwhile, then we'll probably release an EP first, right? We'll maybe release an EP. We'll check the attention that gets and whether or not people like it. They might turn around and went, "Nah, I like the first stuff. That's shite," right? But if they like this one, and then we can start talking about an album. But logistically, try to like organize all that. It'll probably be like well into next year before we have a chat about an album, recording one, and then moving on for that. But we're kind of realistic that like the album game is getting old fashioned anyway. Yeah. So we'll just kind of move with what we can. And right now, singles are the way forward, moving into an EP. And hopefully that EP is like a little mini album that we can treat as a, you know what I mean? This is us. Like, that's us arriving to say, right, this is what we're hopefully is going to be our sound. Hopefully you like it, you know?
Yeah. It's got to be difficult because you are a new band. Like you say, you've done everything during lockdown, essentially. So trying to get your name out there has got to be so difficult because you're literally relying on word of mouth, social media, people just spreading the word of your music to get listened to. It must be a real challenge.
would say there's been more people talking about us now. I know it's hard to say because we have been a band longer in lockdown than we've not, but it does seem like it's active all the time on Twitter. There's loads of cool that sort of the Friday night music thing that Zach's always in touch with. These boys they're constantly sharing their music. We've got good connections with these people now, and there's a good community, and it is getting our name about more, which kind of builds up the hype for a gig whenever it may we're allowed to do it. But it's so hard to say because it feels now like, especially after just releasing a song, we're getting streams, we're getting people talking about us, and it's hard because if you'd got that sort of momentum going with like being able to go out and play a gig, then it's hard to say where it is. But I don't know, it's just hard. It just doesn't really make sense now, to be honest. Nothing actually, even though there is something happening, it doesn't actually feel like there is at the same time.
But also, even the boys who put us forward for this, so I think the band Senses were the ones who we were talking to about this, and they put us forward, which is like, so a big shout out to them. But again, I think that's for the Twitterverse. That's like literally like Zach's been cultivating a really good community there, the people, and he's joined communities, and it's like, it actually feels really weirdly normal. Like, you know, it feels like you're going to gigs and you're meeting all these people, but it's all online. And it's all in these hashtags and like Dan Potter and New Music Friday. And there's so many people in that community that have been really good to us. But likewise, it's helped us discover so many new bands. So we're like, it's really good because we're actually going like, this is amazing. There's so much good music out there just now, like new stuff. And you're like, this is quality. Feels like you're just at the start of a wave. So yeah.
No, it's been good. I mean, for me, because I started this podcast during lockdown for something to do. It's a bit of I like to refer to it as a shit soccer AM, where I just do, you know, shitty old jokes and talk about football and get music guests on. And it's been brilliant. I've got into so much new music just from getting bands on to talk about their music, listen to it's fab. And we have a laugh as well. So it's all good fun. So which brings us, go on.
I was going to say, I went back and watched a lot of your episodes. Like, it's brilliant what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. Like I said, Z-list soccer AM. That's what it'll say on the resume when I'm done. So moving nicely onto your football love, then Celtic Football Club. Both big fans of Celtic. Obviously, disappointing season for you this year in reality. But to be fair, of the previous 9 years, it's not a bad knock on. So just a few things about Celtic, and I'm going to start with either or. I don't normally, but I normally go with some questions. I'm going to start with an either or. So SPL or play in the English Premier League, which would you rather do?
Playing the English Premier League for me is Celtic, because that's a constant argument of like, oh, they wouldn't be top six. And yeah, I know, because right now, like, we don't have the same money. So if we were in the Premier League and we had the money and you had the draw and the pool of the historic club and all this, 100%. Because Scottish League, you just constantly like, it's a farmers league, mate. My nan could score in that league. And you're like, aye, of course you could. No worries. So yeah, gonna be you, Joe.
It's tough. I mean, Celtic go down to England, you can say Rangers as well. Two clubs with probably, I would say they're in top 5 sort of fan base in the UK. Manchester United, Liverpool. To be honest, I mean, apart from that, I would say Celtic and Rangers are right up there and we would be competing. But I don't know. It just, to me, it seems that way, where just a bit commercialised more than what it's about. But I mean, I don't know what Cardiff fans, Swansea supporters and all that, I don't know what they think about like being a Welsh team and playing in the English divisions. But I mean, it seems to do all right for them, but I don't know. I mean, it's a hard question.
I know. So as a Scotsman living in England, I think the English are far more obsessed with Celtic and Rangers being in the English Premier League than Celtic and Rangers are obsessed with being in the English Premier League. I don't think Celtic and Rangers are actually particularly that bothered whether they did go.
We don't care. That's the thing. It's always driven by the English media. Like, where would Celtic finish? And I seen on Football Joe the other day, it was like, where would Celtic and Rangers finish if they were in the Premier League? It's not us. We're like, we didn't care. It's also when people say like, it's fucking like 9 titles in a row. anybody could do it, and you can only beat what's in front of you, right? We can only play in the Scottish League, and right now we dominated for 9 years. So like, what do you want us to do? Just like, what do we do? And then if they're saying that like it's so bad, but we don't want you in the Premier League, I don't think it'll ever happen, if I'm being honest, because 2 Premier League teams will never vote for Celtic and Rangers to be amalgamated in. All of the football clubs in England, from the top right down to the bottom division, will never allow it, because then they're having to give a little slice of that pie away. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, yeah. But I agree with your point. I think it's always driven down. It's never us. We're like, no, we don't really care. But if we could, then we would.
No. And it's like you mentioned the Farmers League and the quality, and people. Well, that's what the English support base say. And I have this argument all the time that fans of Scottish teams don't really care what English people or the English media think in reality about what the standard of the league is. They genuinely don't. They like the product they've got in front of them. They quite happily watch it. If you ask a Dundee United fan who's top of the Championship, he wouldn't have a clue. Ask a Championship fan where Dundee United, they wouldn't have a clue. Dundee United fans are interested in what's going on in front of them at Tannadice on a Saturday afternoon, and couldn't give 2 monkeys about what the standard of football is, as long as they're
exactly. And see as well, I went to Everton Bournemouth, right? 5-2 to Everton. This is when Lukaku played for Everton, right? I was on a stag do, and I went, and Everton's ground is amazing. It's like a proper historic and a beautiful ground to go to, and like the atmosphere was terrible. And I remember after that, seeing in the news, it was like the atmosphere was incredible, and I was like, if that was incredible, like genuinely, like I've seen a better atmosphere, Celtic versus St Mirren. And I'm like, so I remember going to McDiarmid Park, St Johnstone, and what happens is the Celtic fans get given 3 stands, right? And they do the chant, the Celtic. That was one of the best atmospheres of my life. It was Kieran Tierney's debut, right? And we're sitting in just one full stand shouting and everybody gone mental. And I'm like, you don't get that. You don't get that. And I don't think they understand that we enjoy that. Like that's good to go and see. Like, if you would pay money to go and see that, you might not pay money to watch it, but you'd pay money to be there. Yeah. You know? And that's the difference.
And of course, you've got the flip to that as well. So you've got the Celtic fans, and you guys will love that. But on the flip side, you've got the St Johnstone fans who are only in one stand. They're desperate to win that game. It's all the matter. There's 8 games a season they're desperate to win. It's their cup final, and they love it. And they
so every time anytime we play Celtic or Rangers, it's a cup final. It's a cup final for us every week, every game. You know, you're going to get a challenge, and that's what it's all about.
It's all about. I think we've covered that one. We blamed the English media. We'll just go down that road. So, so highest high supporting Celtic.
I don't know. Highest high, possibly. I mean, I was 9-year-old, but I can remember Celtic getting into the UEFA Cup final.
Yeah.
And that was unbelievable, the run up to that. But it wasn't, I couldn't say it was my highest high because I was 9-year-old. You know what I mean? It's no certain you can go out and enjoy it properly. But I would say Brendan Rodgers coming in the invincible treble, man. I mean, that's unbelievable. Something we'll probably not see again.
I think that's a good shout. Like two for me, and they're a close call, right? But I think one slightly edges it because of what it meant. But the invincible treble season, Tom Roderick's goal in the last part of the Scottish Cup final, unreal. Because he genuinely, and I remember we were actually playing a gig. We were playing a festival that day. And I had to run back home, and I only caught the second half, and I'd been watching it on the set, and just when it went in, it was like it was unreal. But the other one is the treble when Eddie scored against Hearts again in the Scottish Cup, right? And he scored against, and he chipped it over to win the treble. Now I was with my dad, my uncle, and their mates in my dad's family home where he grew up. Yeah. And that was such a special. I remember at the time going, "Oh my God, I'd love to be there." And then I took a step back and I was like, "Oh no, I like to be here," because the whole lot of us got to experience that. And I think that was probably the treble winning, and that was the last one I can remember because it was just, it was brilliant. Quadruple, I mean, we've won a quadruple treble, you know what I mean?
know,
But it wasn't the same.
it?
The treble, surrounded with family and being in that house was amazing. And I was like, I will never see this again. I will never, ever see this again. And I will never be here in this moment again. So I enjoyed it.
So other than losing to the Paisley Buddies at home this season, what's been your lowest low?
Man, I don't know. I don't know where to begin. Everything. Absolutely. Do you know something? Do you know what I would say has been the lowest low? Because it felt like I was actually getting slapped in the face.
Yeah.
Was the trip to Dubai. Everything that was going on, and then the players get their nice wee holiday, working hard at training and that. They have to go and train abroad. No chance, man. That for me has been the lowest low. As I said,
I didn't feel like that, but like personally, purely because this season, I remember getting beat at home. Beat in the first Old Firm, if you want to call it that, but the first Rangers game, and getting beat and just being like, because it just didn't feel the same. It was an empty ground. They scored and it was like silence. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Like, even you want to be like raging and you're just like, all right, okay. Yeah. So like this season has been a write-off for such a long time. And even Rangers winning the league, it's just empty grounds and that. And you're just like, Morelos celebrating to nobody. I'm like, that's, if anything, it's slightly pleasing because you're like, cool. I think it's just raw. So I don't think that's been my lowest low as a Celtic fan.
Yeah.
I think there's been a couple of games, there's been a couple of times where we've been put out of like the Scottish Cup or the League Cup, and it's against something like Dunfermline or like somebody absolutely terrible, like this year again. But see, when you're there and it's freezing cold and it's in the middle of like November and you've been pumped out by losing 1-0, that's probably the times where you're like, this is horrendous. Like, this is the worst thing ever. Because I don't actually feel like losing 10 in a row. I just didn't feel this season and the half of last season hasn't been. It's been like a write-off, and I will always remember it as that time where the football was during coronavirus. We'll never, you know what I mean? It'll be one of those things that we still up to 10. You're like, yeah, during coronavirus. Like, it's always. And it's like when we said we won 9 in a row, and it's like, yeah, but during coronavirus. But they're just refusing to acknowledge that it's the same.
The other way.
Stop 10 in a row during a pandemic. Cool. So yeah, I don't know. Probably getting pumped at the Scottish Cup or the League Cup by one of the minnows.
Yeah. Okay, so missing out obviously on the 10 in a row, as you said, been a disappointment. Do you feel it's better though that you have now got the challenge of somebody back again, or do you prefer the way it's been for the last few years, where in reality, I mean, other than Aberdeen for a real short period of time, you've kind of run away with the title most seasons? Is it better to have that challenge now that Gerrard has brought Rangers up to be to be fair, he's put a decent side together and they are a challenge now, aren't they? They're the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the best way to describe it is I've never in the last few years celebrated winning like 2-0 or 2-1 against someone like Partick Thistle on a Wednesday night in the middle of December, because you're like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Where there is, the Rangers have been brilliant this season, and next season, every single game will matter. And that's the difference, is that every single game is like a cup final. And that's how it always is, and that's how it always used to be. But I just think that the players the last few years while Rangers were shite got away with it without having to really worry about it. And even when Aberdeen kind of mounted the challenge, it wasn't. They over-egged the challenge to try and make it look like competitive. It wasn't like that. And so genuinely, all that's going to happen from that is that if every game is going to be like a cup final, it's only going to improve both teams. And the big thing for me is that Champions League and Europa League football, getting Europe back to the Scottish League is only a good thing. And I think the stronger Celtic is, and the stronger Celtic are, and the stronger Rangers are, the better they're both going to be in Europe, because they're going to be used to having to bring their A game every week. Whereas Celtic have been terrible in Europe in the last 2 or 3 years because they don't have to. They don't have to turn up. They know that they can almost just be there and they'll win. And that's the difference. As I think the stronger the opposition side for Celtic or Rangers, the better it has. Like we're all going to reap the rewards, regardless of the fact that you might lose a league title every now and then. That's my view on it anyway. I don't know about you, Joe.
What he said. Nah, I'd agree, man. I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Yeah. So
And get wrong, the 5-1s in that were brilliant, but you want the challenge. You do want the challenge.
So you have a managerial vacancy at the moment, as Mr. Lennon has parted ways and John Kennedy's interim. So who are you looking for as your next boss? Who would you like as your next manager?
I'll go first. I'm going to say Frank Lampard, because I stuck a fiver on him at 60-61 back when he was still in the Chelsea job. So if he gets that, I'm a few £100 up. Realistically, I don't think it will be, but I mean, I'll be happy with anyone. You can't get any worse, can it? Can't get any worse. Obviously, like Reidy Howe, and that would be ideal. Can I see it happening? I don't know, but I would say either Eddie Howe. I do really want Roy Keane. I've seen that he was coming in as the favourite now, but I don't think he's the right man. So I'll say Eddie Howe, because when he was the sort of top rumour, I would have been 100% happy with that. So
yeah,
that's what I stick with.
I think I'm just 100% the same. So Eddie Howe, for me, he's at the right point of his career. Whatever supposed damage happened while Bournemouth got relegated, which I don't think I think he could come up to Celtic, build a squad, stay with them for 3 or 4 years, and actually try and compete in Europe, and he'd walk away there with yep, because he'll be able to try things up here that he just couldn't do down in the Premier League.
Yeah,
like he'll be able to come up here and tactically go for it and just say, I'm going to try this, this, and this, and really see what happens. And I think down south he couldn't do that. And I just think how he is as a person is just exactly what Celtic need in this moment. They need someone who's a little bit more strategic and could actually think, instead of just Roy Keane coming in shouting at everybody saying, win this fucking game, So that's for me, Eddie Howe. If we can get him, that'll be amazing.
Yeah. So you've got a couple of either ors. So you can have a run in Europe. So you'll get to say the quarterfinals, but Rangers win the league, or you go out early in Europe, but you win the league.
You're talking about Champions League?
Yeah.
Quarterfinals today. I would have to go for the Champions League.
I'm saying Champions League because we've not won 10 in a row. So what is another? If we manage to get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League and we could all go there, absolutely count me in. And also the quarterfinals of the Champions League is worth about 100 Scottish Premiership titles when it comes to prize money. So we can go and get to the quarterfinals and we'll be cooking with gas for at least 20 a year. So
There wasn't much,
the Champions League.
There wasn't much hesitation thinking about that one, was there? So win
all money oriented.
Win all 4 matches against Rangers, but you finish second, or lose all 4, but you win the league.
Win all 4 and finish. Oh no!
I think that would never happen in a million. Like,
you can only have one.
Lose all 4 and win the league. So I'm going for.
I suppose at least you'll get the last laugh if you've won the league. Go for it. Win the league and get beat 4 times.
It would be tough, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, aye. It'd be horrendous.
Mate, they won, like, literally, we won 9 titles in a row, right? They won 1, and the flags everywhere, right? It's like they've been out in the street, honestly, every little town in West Lothian's got wee flags. And the best it is, they've got 55, right? Brilliant, right? Upside down. So it looks like they've won SS, right? And you're just like, class boys. That's what you're after, honestly. And like, there's this part that we used to, it was like old Celtic dads, right? We're talking old Celtic dads, as they're called up here, right? Saying, can you see the Rangers coming, right? And I used to cringe at it, right? Every single Rangers fan is like, can you see us now? And you're like, I never partook in that. I thought that was cringeworthy. So the fact that you're saying, can you see me now, is actually like, even worse. So yeah, anyway. So those all 4, win the league.
Right, let's move on to your 5-a-side team then, gents. So simple rules: 1 goalie, 1 defender, 2 midfielders, 1 striker, and you have to have seen them live. So I understand there's been a few late changes to your original team, but that's fine. We'll go with that. So we'll start with your goalkeeper.
Do Joe, would you like to announce the? So we basically sat and debated this quite lengthily, right? We changed a lot of people, and then around half an hour before we were recording this podcast, we found out you had to have seen them. So straight away we're like, oh. So we've had some last minute subs. A few boys have pulled out, so we've had to go with a new team. But I'll let Joe announce the goalie.
Okay.
What did we decide on?
You get the choice now, Joe.
You know what? Do you know who I'll pick live? Because I can't really think of seeing any top keepers. I'm going to go for Fraser Foster, just because he's a monster in goals, man. You could lie him down in the five-side goals and they will score.
Yeah.
So big, but I mean, what he's done with Celtic before he ditched us there. It was unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think you've missed him massively this season, haven't you? Without a shadow of a doubt.
I would say, see the 9 in a row season. I would say he won us that.
Yeah.
I would say he definitely won us that season. What was that? The Scottish Cup final as well. The 1-0 against Rangers.
League Cup.
Aye. League Cup.
Aye.
I would say he won us that as well. So, seeing as we had to decide just before the podcast kicked off, I'll go for Foster. That would be my choice.
Right.
Okay. It was a close call between him and Arthur Boric, but purely on short stopping ability, you can't come out the D during fives. So Fraser Foster.
We'll take that. So your defender.
Okay. Now this is a relatively easy one. So this was another swap. This is a dirty swap out, right? But essentially, we went for Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
The reason being, he can play anywhere, right? So he can go up front, he can play in midfield, and he can play in defence, which is pivotal when you're playing fives. You might have him up there, you might have him not, and he can score goals, he can defend. He's an absolute brick shit house, and what more could you want? So yeah, Virgil van Dijk.
And he's been in the teams 3 weeks running now. There you go.
Has he?
Yeah, 3 weeks running. So first of your midfielders, I'm not rushing you, but we only get 40 minutes on Zoom.
Right.
The first of your midfielders.
Go, Joe.
Have you got the list?
I've got the list. Do you want me to tell it?
You go.
There you go. He's forgot already. So the first one is Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
Now, we Scholesy. Now, again, all-rounder. You want that in your midfield at fives. No-brainer. Seen him at Man United when Nakamura scored a free kick for Celtic quality. So Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
The other midfielder, we want intricate play. We want passing. We want scoring. Whatever, like taking it around people at fives. Andres Iniesta. Has to be. Touch, just everything. Pass, move, everything like that.
Class.
And then, exactly. And tiki-taka, everything like that's what you want.
Yeah.
So we've got a striker as well, which I can let Joe go on to.
Aye, so this never changed, did it? This was little Messi.
Oh.
Was it? Have I got it wrong?
It was aye.
Oh, was it?
You want him up front in five.
Messi.
He went into a cold sweat then.
I'm horrendous at this sort of stuff.
The man's a magician. I mean, every week I ask, and I didn't ask you this deliberately because every week I ask people the same question: Messi or Ronaldo. And because I knew you had him in your five-a-side team, I've not asked. So now I will ask. You have got him in your five-a-side team: Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi all day for me, man.
Messi 100%, 110%. Watching him live, he's like a lion stalking his prey, right? He literally just wanders about, and as soon as he gets the ball, it's like, and like see, watching that, I remember being in Barcelona, they beat us 6-1, right? And I remember just watching him, and he just dictates the play from that position up front. Someone could be on the counter attack. He just dictates the play because they don't move beyond Messi. Right? And that's mental. You see the defenders holding the Messi line and you're like, that's crazy. And they just group round him and he gets through it. Amazing.
Yeah, genius. Absolute genius. Gents, It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I've loved the chat, loved the banter. If you've not downloaded it by the end of this podcast, please go and download their new song. It's called Moonlight by Dictator. You'll find it on all the music platforms. If you're really struggling, go on Beat the First Man Twitter feed. I've put it on there as well. You can find it. Gents, I wish you the very, very best of luck. I hope everything falls into place for you. And if you ever come touring down south, we'll be sure to come along and see you and catch up for a beer.
Absolutely, man.
definitely.
Thanks for having us.
No problem at all. And say good luck for the future, and back to the rest of the show.
I danced with the moon last night under the haze of his light, intoxicated, done as lovers do. We dreamed of love and I dreamed of you. Ooh, let me fall in love with you. Ooh, let's your ticket to be true. I'll be the stars, you'll be the moon.
So there you go, a couple of top lads they were, real good fun, very entertaining, very humble. I'm literally just about finished the next week's game, but it looks like we'll have Lost Line from Leeds on next week's show, another band, so to look forward to. But I'll let you know in the social media when that comes around. So, Ted is back, which can only mean one thing. It's time to do the old reveal. Ted? Ted? Sorry, I was thinking about something else. What were you thinking about? You only come here to do this. I've been making sandwiches. I was inviting some friends around later and I've come up with a great idea for what I'm going to call it. Huh? What are you going to call it, Ted? Teddy Bear's Picnic. What a great name for it. What do you think? Ted, I hate to piss on your bonfire, but that's been done before. By who? Charlatans, stealing my ideas. How dare they? Right, let's crack on. Anyway, earlier we showed you this picture of Nivaldo, and you had to guess how old he was. So we'll start with the public's guesses then. So Benny from Abergavenny, he's not 25. Jenny from Abergavenny, hang on, Jenny, do you know Benny? Have they got a son called Lenny? They might have a son called Lenny. I think they've got a friend called Kenny. So Benny, Jenny, Lenny and Kenny from Abergavenny have all been phoning in about how old? One take I did that in. Anyway, so they're all wrong anyway. All the Ennies from Abergavenny are all wrong. Lenny, Jenny, Kenny, Benny from Abergavenny does it again. So Ted, how old do you think he was? Right, I've got it. It's that fella from The Simpsons, Mr. Burns. He's 29. Ted, I salute you. You've got it right. He was 29. Yes, in your face, Reidy. Have some of that. Nivaldo with your no hair and your nose making you look like Mr. Burns. I got your age, 29. You don't fool me. I'm Ted. I'm king of the world. A little bit of an extreme celebration. A little bit OTT. In your face. Okay. Go on. Dear God. Yeah, so he was 29, Nivaldo. 29. He wasn't even 30. And he was, honest to God, he'd have passed for over 40 without a shadow of doubt. So it just leaves one thing on the show as always, guest fee knowledge. Oh, wait, I don't hear the music. Do you know why? Because I closed the gap. Yes, I did. So last week, I called Wimbledon to beat Northampton. Guest called it the other way round, so I picked up a point. So it's now guest 16, knowledge 12. So the gap is now closing. Game on. So the boys from Dictator chose this week's game. They went for Leicester v Manchester City. So another nice easy one for us to predict. As always, I let guests have the info. Checks notes for her answers were, Man City are good, aren't they? Could say that. Where are they in the league? They're top. And Leicester, they're third. This is a difficult one. It's football, anything can happen. Brilliant. I could have done that. Anyway, so I think the nerves are setting in. I think because I'm catching her, the nerves are setting in. She's overthinking it now. Anyway, she came back. She's gone for a 2-2 draw. She's not a bad shout, to be fair. It was in my mind, but I've not told her that. She'll watch this and then she'll know. So where do we start? City got cut open at home by Leicester, ripped to pieces, lost 5-2. But City have massively changed their playing style since then. They're still a lot about the press, but they're a little bit more pragmatic. They do manage games much better than then. They're a different side. The side that started that game and the side that starts this weekend will be very, very different. I think City are going to have too much for Leicester this weekend. Leicester they've had a great season, they've had some great results, but they have some very, very off days at home, very off days, where teams really do catch them. West Ham went there and turned them over. We went there as Leeds and turned them over. They've had some results like that. Fulham went there. So at home, they're not quite as good. I think City could just pick them off. So I'm going for Leicester City 1, Manchester City 2. Let's see how we are after that. All of that brings us to the end of another show. Thank you so much for watching again. If you did enjoy the show, please give me a like. As I've said before, it massages not only my ego, but my baldy head, which is going to need cutting because it's grown very, very long now, as I'm sure you'll all agree. We will be back for more of the same nonsense next week. Don't forget to eat your cream eggs, put your pictures online and Facebook with your times. I want to see as many people as possible doing the Easter Spectacular Challenge. Get your kids involved, whatever, just pile loads on. You know the time you've got to beat. You'll all beat it, you'll all smash it, to be honest, let's be truthful. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Ding ding, next stop, episode 34, next Saturday, the 10th of April. As always, guys, we're nearly there. We're another step closer to another easing of the lockdown. So please, as always, stay safe, and we will see you all next week.